The formaldehyde smell hits you first, then the silence. 14 people watching as your dissection tray crashes to the floor and not one of them moves. Not one speaks. That's when you realize the rules you thought protected you don't exist here. That's when you understand you're completely alone. Riley Brennan learned this lesson in exactly 4 seconds on a Monday afternoon. 4 seconds that would teach her everything she needed to know about power, protection, and what happens when the system is designed to fail you. The chemistry lab at Northbridge Academy still smells like ammonia and broken promises when Riley thinks about it. She'd been there exactly 6 days as a transfer student. 6 days of carefully mapping exits, cataloging security cameras, and maintaining the kind of low profile that comes from practice. Her younger brother Alex, a freshman, was supposed to be the invisible one. She was supposed to blend in, finish junior year, and disappear into whatever came next. Blake Hartley had different plans. He stood near her workstation that afternoon, his athletic jacket pristine under the fluorescent lights. His father ran the district's administrative office. That fact hung in the air like a threat. Nobody needed to speak aloud. Behind Blake, Tyler Walsh blocked the doorway with the kind of casual intimidation that came from never facing consequences. Jordan Ellis recorded everything from the corner, phone angled to look innocent. "Transfer students who can't afford the tuition shouldn't take advanced classes," Blake said. His voice carried across the lab, loud enough for everyone to hear, soft enough to sound almost friendly, especially ones on scholarship. The tray toppled into Riley's lap. Liquid soaked through her jeans. The preserved specimens slid across tile, leaving a trail that nobody would clean up for hours. She didn't flinch. Her hands reached for paper towels with methodical precision, wiping each finger clean, while her eyes counted without looking up. Main door, Tyler blocking it. Emergency exit, behind the equipment. Windows, reinforced with wire mesh. 3 ways out, 2 compromised. 1 requiring her to move past the fume hood, where Blake now leaned, close enough to whisper. "Friday afternoon, 4:15, North Parking Section. We need to discuss your place here." His finger tapped her notebook, leaving a damp print on the page where she'd been taking notes about cellular respiration. The irony wasn't lost on her. Breathing was supposed to be automatic. Here, even that felt calculated. Riley's hand moved to her left wrist. The motion looked nervous, fidgeting, the kind of thing anxious teenagers do. But her fingers found paracord woven in a specific pattern, the kind Marines teach their families. The kind her father wore until the day his transport convoy hit an IED outside Kandahar. When she spoke, her voice could have been reading a grocery list. Section 14, subsection B of the Student Code. Verbal intimidation with witness presence. Documented at 4:07 p.m. I'll be there. The precision landed like a slap. Blake's smile faltered. Tyler shifted his weight, suddenly uncertain. Jordan's phone trembled slightly in his grip. Mr. Patterson, the chemistry teacher, finally looked up from his desk. "Problem here?" Blake's mask slid back into place. "No, sir. Just helping the new student with lab protocol. She seems confused about proper handling procedures." He walked past Riley's station close enough that his sleeve brushed her shoulder. "Friday, Riley. Don't be late." The bell released 14 students who filed out in silence, giving her workstation the kind of distance usually reserved for hazardous materials. Riley remained seated, breathing in a specific pattern. 4 counts in, hold, 6 counts out. The rhythm her father's unit taught her for controlling panic in combat zones. She pulled out her phone. The lock screen showed a photograph, deliberately blurred but recognizable if you knew what to look for. 5 soldiers in desert camouflage. One face scratched out with a key, damage she'd inflicted herself months ago when the flag-draped coffin arrived home. Her thumb hovered over her photos, then moved to the clock app instead. She noted the time in the margin of her ruined notebook, writing in the tiny, precise script of someone who understands documentation as survival. Monday 4:07, lab incident, 14 witnesses, B, H plus T, W plus JE. Why does a 16-year-old quote policy like a lawyer? Why does she breathe like someone trained for combat? And why does that paracord bracelet look less like jewelry and more like a tool? The mystery hung heavy in the empty lab as Riley gathered her chemical-soaked materials. She stood with her back to the wall, checked both directions, and stepped into the hallway. Her boots, tactical style hidden under denim, not the sneakers other juniors wore, made no sound on polished floors. 6 days. 6 days of whispers dying when she entered rooms. 6 days of accidents that left bruises she never mentioned. 6 days of being invisible in the way that makes you hypervisible to predators. If you've ever been the new person in a place where the rules don't apply to everyone, you know what's coming. The question isn't whether they'll escalate, it's whether she'll still be standing when they do. Tuesday morning arrived wrapped in fog that refused to burn off. Riley reached her locker at 7:42 a.m. to find it hanging open. Not broken, just unlocked. The door swinging loose on hinges that should have been secured by a combination only she knew. Inside, her textbooks had been rearranged, nothing missing, just moved. The message was clear. We can reach you whenever we want. She photographed the locker from multiple angles. Her phone case was military green, with a small insignia near the camera lens. She didn't touch anything else, just closed the door and walked to first period with her backpack already containing everything she'd need for the day. Planning ahead had stopped being optional years ago. Blake found her at the water fountain between second and third period. The hallway was crowded enough for witnesses, empty enough for plausible deniability. He leaned against the tile beside her, close enough that she could smell his cologne. Expensive, deliberately overpowering. "Your dad died in Afghanistan, right?" His voice was casual, conversational. "Marine Corps. Pretty heroic story from what the administration files say." Riley straightened slowly. Water dripped from her chin. She didn't wipe it away. "Superintendent's office has complete background on all transfers," Blake continued. "Family history, previous schools, disciplinary records. My dad makes sure he knows who's walking these halls." He paused. "Shame about your dad. Bet he'd be disappointed seeing you here, taking charity, taking space meant for students who actually belong." The words were designed to crack foundations. Riley's jaw tightened, the only visible reaction. Her left hand dropped to her wrist, fingers tracing the paracord beneath her sleeve. "You finished?" Her voice could cut glass. "Not even close." Blake pushed off the wall. "See you Friday." He walked away before she could respond. Riley watched him go, then glanced at her wrist. The smartwatch beneath her jacket sleeve showed a recording icon. 42 seconds of audio. Time stamped. Uploading to cloud storage. She'd learned documentation the hard way. Ms. Rodriguez, the librarian, stood 10 feet away at the circulation desk. Their eyes met for half a second before the librarian's gaze dropped to the books she was scanning. The message was clear. "I saw nothing. I heard nothing. This is how it works here." Third period American history passed in a blur of lectures Riley didn't process. Her phone buzzed twice. Texts from Alex asking about lunch plans. The messages looked casual, but the subtext ran deeper. Her brother always walked home with friends now. She'd arranged it day 2 after noticing Blake's eyes lingering too long near the freshman lockers. By Wednesday, the campaign went digital. Riley's phone exploded with notifications during fourth period. A fake social media account had appeared overnight. Riley's real story. The profile picture was her school photo, badly edited to look intoxicated. The posts spun stories about her previous school, fabricated incidents involving drugs, fights, a restraining order from a boy she'd supposedly stalked. The comments multiplied like viruses. "I knew something was off about her. Explains the mid-year transfer. No wonder she has 0 friends." Jordan sat 3 rows ahead, phone face down on his desk, shoulders hunched forward, the posture of someone trying to be invisible. Guilt, maybe, or just self-preservation in Blake's orbit. Riley screenshot everything. Timestamps, usernames, IP addresses visible in the account settings through methods most teenagers don't know exist. She opened a library computer later that afternoon, running network analysis tools that traced the account back to a residential address in Blake's neighborhood. She saved the log files to 3 separate drives. Documentation wasn't just evidence, it was a weapon. Her father had taught her that before he taught her how to defend herself. Thursday brought property damage. Riley arrived at gym class to find her locker forced open. The metal door was bent where someone had used leverage. Crowbar, probably. Her uniform was shredded, cut methodically with scissors or a blade. On the locker's back panel, red marker formed words in angry capitals. "Next time it's you." She photographed everything before touching anything. The security camera in the corner should have caught this. But when she turned to check its angle, the lens pointed at the opposite wall. Someone had moved it. Someone with access to building maintenance. Coach Stevens walked through, clipboard in hand. Her expression cycled through surprise, concern, then careful neutrality. Vandalism. I'll file a report with administration. Check the camera footage, Riley said quietly. Camera's been broken for weeks. Budget cuts. The coach's tone was apologetic but firm. Riley positioned herself exactly in the current camera's blind spot. She pointed to the vandalized locker, then to the timestamp on her phone, making sure both were visible in frame, creating evidence for the one camera that supposedly didn't work. She changed in the bathroom, wearing yesterday's gym clothes from her backpack. Always having backups was another survival skill. By Friday morning, the academic assault began. Riley was summoned to Assistant Principal Morrison's office during homeroom. The call came through a hall monitor, official enough to feel threatening. Morrison sat behind her desk, reading glasses perched low on her nose. A photograph of District Superintendent Hartley, Blake's father, hung prominently on the wall behind her, a reminder of hierarchy. "Your transcript," Morrison said without preamble. "There's a discrepancy." Riley's stomach tightened. What kind of discrepancy? "According to our records, you don't have the prerequisites for advanced chemistry or AP American history. The superintendent's office is questioning your placement." Morrison slid a paper across the desk. "We may need to move you to standard classes, pending verification." The timing was surgical. Blake's father wielding power from above, cutting her down without fingerprints on the weapon. Riley reached into her backpack. She produced a folder containing 3 copies of her official transcript, one from her previous school's registrar, one certified by the district transfer office, one notarized. She also pulled out email correspondence with her previous guidance counselor, complete with course descriptions and grade confirmations. "Certified mail receipts," she added, sliding postal tracking numbers across the desk. "Sent to this office 4 weeks before my start date. Signature confirmation shows they were received." Morrison's expression shifted through several registers. Surprise that a 16-year-old comes armed with legal documentation. Frustration that the trap didn't close. Grudging respect buried under administrative obligation. "I'll need to verify these with the superintendent," Morrison said carefully. "Take your time." Riley's voice stayed level. "I'm not going anywhere." The verification took 38 minutes. Riley sat in the waiting area, watching other students cycle through, dress code violations, parking permits, college recommendation requests, normal teenage problems. She'd trade places with any of them. Morrison emerged with a tight smile. "Your placement stands." There was an administrative error in the transfer files. "Administrative error," Riley repeated. "Yes." The word carried a warning. "Don't push this." Riley stood. "Thank you for clarifying." As she reached the door, Morrison spoke again. "Riley, a word of advice. This is a good school with a strong reputation. Don't create problems for yourself." The subtext was clear. The system protects its own. Riley nodded and left without responding. Her father used to say the worst orders come from people who think they're helping you. The physical escalation arrived during Friday lunch. Riley took the long route to the cafeteria, following patterns she'd established over 6 days of mapping the school's geography. She knew which hallways had working cameras, which stairwells were monitored, which exits were actually exits. The northeast stairwell near the music room was a blind spot. 3 broken lights, camera pointed at the ceiling, minimal foot traffic. She was halfway down when Tyler appeared at the top. His footsteps were too quick, too heavy. Riley's peripheral vision caught his arm extending, a shove aimed at her shoulder blade, the kind of bump that looks accidental but sends someone tumbling down concrete steps. Her body reacted before her mind processed the threat. She tucked, rolled, converted downward momentum into horizontal motion. The movement was trained, automatic. Combat breakfall technique, military version. She landed at the bottom in a crouch, knees bent, arms out for balance. 3 students rounded the corner, witnessing her landing but not his shove. Tyler descended slowly, hand on the railing, the picture of concern. "Whoa, you okay? Those stairs are dangerous." Riley stood, checking her palms for scrapes. "None." "Careful," she said. "These stairs are really steep." She extended her hand as if to help him down the last 2 steps, a gesture that forced physical contact. Her grip on his wrist was firm, precise, pressure applied to specific nerve clusters. Tyler's face went white. His hand trembled in her grasp. For 3 seconds, he understood exactly how much force she was capable of restraining. She released him, smile never reaching her eyes. "Watch your step." Tyler backed away, rubbing his wrist. The 3 student witnesses saw nothing but helpfulness. But Tyler's expression had changed. The casual violence he'd expected to dispense had been redirected, repackaged, returned with interest. Coach Ramirez watched from the 2nd-floor landing. His eyes narrowed as Riley passed, recognition in his gaze. "That's military footwork," he muttered, not quite under his breath. She kept walking. The breadcrumbs were scattering despite her best efforts to stay invisible. Friday afternoon brought the final assault before the reckoning, authority manipulation turned weapon. During 7th period, a hall monitor delivered another summons. This time, Blake was already in Assistant Principal Morrison's office. Tyler and Jordan flanked him, presenting a united front. All 3 wore expressions of practiced concern. Morrison gestured for Riley to sit. "Blake has filed a harassment complaint." The words hung in recycled air conditioning. Riley's face remained neutral, but her pulse quickened. This was the play. Accuse the victim, force her to defend, bury her under process. Blake leaned forward, voice trembling with manufactured emotion. "She's been following me, making threatening comments. I have witnesses." He nodded to Tyler and Jordan, who both confirmed with solemn expressions. "She quoted some weird legal code at me in the chemistry lab," Tyler added, "like she was threatening to sue or something." Jordan produced his phone. "I have video of her acting aggressive after the locker incident Thursday. She was making hostile gestures at the camera." The video showed Riley pointing at the bent locker, then at her phone, the moment she was creating her own evidence. Cropped and reframed, it looked confrontational, threatening even. Morrison looked exhausted. "Riley, this is serious. Multiple students corroborating." "Check the timestamps," Riley's voice cut through. "Every incident they're describing, I have documentation showing their initial actions. Blake threatened me Monday at 4:07 p.m. in the chemistry lab. Mr. Patterson was present. Tyler assaulted me on the northeast stairwell today at 11:43 a.m. Coach Ramirez witnessed the aftermath. My locker was vandalized Wednesday morning between 7:30 and 7:50 a.m. I have photographs, security camera angles, and GPS data showing I was in the library at that time. She pulled out her phone, but Morrison raised a hand. I'm not reviewing evidence presented by students in a he said, she said situation. Per district policy, I'm implementing a mutual separation order. You're all suspended from extracurricular activities pending investigation. Monday, we'll reconvene with parents present. Riley's world tilted. I'm being punished for filing reports. You're being separated from a volatile situation for your own protection. Morrison's tone was final. Blake's smile was microscopic, visible only if you knew to look for it. This was the victory, forcing her into isolation, stripping away the few support structures she might have built. Meeting adjourned, Morrison said. Blake, Riley, I want you both to leave through separate exits. No contact whatsoever. The boys filed out first. Blake paused at the door, glancing back. His expression was triumphant. Riley sat motionless until they were gone, then stood slowly. Assistant Principal Morrison, she said quietly, when this goes federal, remember you had a choice today. Morrison's head snapped up. Excuse me. But Riley was already gone, door closing softly behind her. The comment landed like a depth charge, timed to explode later when context made it devastating. She walked to the library, found a quiet corner, and opened her laptop. The screen showed a draft email to her father's unit brother, Diego Castellano. Subject line, need advice on Title IX procedures. Body text, detailed timeline, attached evidence files, GPS coordinates of the school. She didn't hit send yet, not until she was certain there was no other way. The final bell rang at 3:15 p.m. Students flooded hallways in standard Friday chaos. Weekend plans shouted across lockers, last-minute homework questions, the shuffle of 2,000 teenagers desperate for freedom. Riley moved against the current toward the exit near the science wing. Alex texted that he was already on the bus with friends. Chess club cancelled this week. She triple-checked the message before relaxing slightly. The parking lot stretched before her like a stage. Rows of cars baking under afternoon sun, heat shimmering off asphalt. North parking section was the furthest area, reserved for seniors, mostly empty by 3:30 as students rushed to jobs and practice. Her rusted Honda sat alone in the third row. She'd parked strategically Monday morning, back to a fence, clear sight lines in 3 directions, security camera on the adjacent light pole. The camera District Superintendent Hartley's maintenance crew reported as broken 2 months ago. The camera Riley personally tested Wednesday afternoon, watching the security feed from a hijacked monitor in the facilities office, operational, recording, just conveniently off the books. She reached her car at 4:06 p.m., sun angling low, casting long shadows. Friday afternoon meant skeleton crew administration, skeleton crew witnesses. Blake chose his timing well. A Mercedes pulled into the lot at 4:13 p.m. Black, recent model, vanity plate reading, legacy. Blake's graduation gift, or maybe just his father's statement about inherited power. Tyler emerged from the passenger seat. Jordan from the back. 3-on-1 in a location they selected, at a time they controlled. Riley leaned against her Honda, arms crossed. Her phone was visible in her right hand, screen angled away from them. The smartwatch on her left wrist showed a subtle recording indicator, red dot pulsing beneath the display. Both devices set to upload audio to cloud storage every 30 seconds. Her father's unit taught her, redundancy saves lives. Blake approached with the confidence of someone who's never faced real consequences. Tyler circled to her left, cutting off the route to the main building. Jordan stayed by the Mercedes, phone out but not filming this time. They'd learned that lesson. Get in, Blake said without preamble. We're taking a ride. Riley didn't move. That's kidnapping. Federal offense. Crossing state lines makes it a felony with mandatory minimums. Blake laughed, the sound sharp, almost angry. Who's gonna believe you? My dad runs this district. You're a troubled transfer with no proof, no friends, and a disciplinary file as of today. We're just offering a ride home, being helpful. I have my own car. She nodded to the Honda. Car's not going anywhere. Tyler produced a key fob from his pocket, her spare, stolen from her gym locker Wednesday. He clicked it. The Honda's locks engaged with a decisive thunk. See, we're just being safe, making sure you get home all right. The chess pieces slid into position. They'd eliminated her mobility, isolated the location, constructed a plausible narrative. 3 concerned students offering a ride to a girl whose car mysteriously won't start. Her refusal makes her look paranoid. Her compliance makes her vulnerable. Riley calculated in the fraction of a second before responding. Diego was, she checked her watch, 14 minutes away if he left the moment she sent the GPS pin. But she didn't send it yet. The draft email sat unsent in her outbox. Insurance she hasn't cashed. Her phone battery indicator showed 3%, red bar pulsing. The recording drains power faster than normal use. Last time, Blake said, voice dropping to a register that made Tyler shift uncomfortably. Get in the van. Not Mercedes. Van. Riley's eyes flicked to the parking lot entrance. A grey utility van idled near the access road, windows tinted, license plate obscured by mud. They'd planned this. Multiple vehicles, coordinated timing, plausible deniability layered like armor. Tyler's jacket shifted slightly, the outline of a taser visible against his ribs, handle protruding from an inner pocket. Jordan saw her notice. His face went pale. Blake, maybe we should just shut up. Blake's mask was cracking now, the polished superintendent's son giving way to something rawer. She thinks she's smarter than us, thinks documentation and rules matter. Gonna teach her how the real world works. A car drove past on the main road, Assistant Principal Morrison's sedan. Riley made eye contact through the windshield. Morrison's gaze slid away, foot steady on the accelerator. No brake lights, no second glance. The system had already decided who matters. Riley's phone screen went black. Battery dead. The recording stopped mid-sentence. 3% wasn't 3%. It was optimistic rounding. The smartwatch kept recording, but its storage capacity was 90 minutes maximum. And they were already at 49 minutes since the chemistry lab. No more evidence, Jordan muttered, relief evident in his voice. Blake grabbed her arm, fingers digging into exact pressure points that would make most people comply. Smart choice. Riley stumbled, deliberately clumsy. Her backpack slipped from her shoulder, hit pavement, content spilling. Notebooks, pens, a water bottle that rolled under her car. Sorry, let me just... Stop stalling. She crouched to retie her shoelace. The movement burned seconds. 8, 9, 10. Blake's grip on her arm tightened, hauling her upright. She spoke next slowly, spacing words for maximum time consumption. Where are we going? I need to tell my brother where I'll be. Alex is fine. Blake's smile returned, cold and sharp. Jordan saw him get on the bus. Headed home, safe and sound. Jordan nodded confirmation. Saw him myself. 3:15, bus 47, the one that goes past Riverside Apartments. Riley's expression changed, not fear anymore. Something closer to relief, which made no tactical sense. Blake noticed frown creasing his forehead. What? That's impossible. Her voice was steady now, centered. What's impossible? Jordan sounded defensive. I saw him. Alex doesn't take the bus on Fridays. He has chess club until 5:30. Except this week, Riley continued. Chess club was cancelled, which I knew because I'm the one who arranged it. Alex has been with Diego since 3 o'clock. My father's unit brother, Marine veteran, current president of the Veterans Motorcycle Club, if you need his full resume. The parking lot went silent except for distant traffic. Tyler's hand drifted away from the taser. Jordan's face lost several shades of color. "You saw exactly who I made sure you'd see," Riley continued. "Freshman boy, right height, wrong person. This whole conversation. You just confessed conspiracy to kidnap a minor. Across state lines counts if that van crosses into Pennsylvania, which I'm betting it would. On camera." She pointed upward. The security camera on the light pole, lens aimed directly at them. Blake's composure fractured. "That camera's been broken for months. Maintenance reported it dead. Maintenance reported wrong." Riley's voice was scalpel precise. "Or maybe someone wanted it off the books. Doesn't matter. It's recorded every word since you pulled in." She tapped her dead phone against her thigh. The screen flickered. Battery indicator showed 47%. Full bars of signal strength. Tyler breathed the word like a prayer he didn't believe in. "You're lying." Phone wasn't dead. Screen was off to save power during recording, but audio kept uploading to cloud storage every 30 seconds. The draft email to Diego, sent the moment you said get in the van. He's had a live audio feed since 4:14 p.m. She checked her watch. 8 minutes of felony conspiracy, with 3 witnesses, 2 vehicles, and 1 taser you brought across school property. Jordan backed toward the Mercedes, hands raised. "I didn't know about the taser. I swear I didn't." "Doesn't matter what you knew." Riley's tone was almost gentle. "Conspiracy charge attaches to everyone involved in planning. But you're smart, Jordan. You've been smart this whole week. Those IP addresses you used for the fake social media, traced back through VPN logs to your home network. The video you shot Monday in chemistry. Metadata shows it was edited 4 times before you submitted it as evidence. You've been documenting your own crimes in real time. Blake's world was collapsing in real time. You could see it in the way his shoulders tightened, the way his hands flexed and relaxed. This is insane. You set us up. You set yourselves up." Riley's voice didn't rise, didn't celebrate, just stated fact. "I documented what you did. Responded to threats you initiated, created evidence chains you could have walked away from at any point. Monday, you could have apologized. Tuesday, you could have stopped. Wednesday, Thursday, today. Every escalation was a choice. Your choices. I just gave you enough rope to demonstrate pattern and intent. The sound started as distant thunder, low rumble that built incrementally the way storms roll across open plains. But the sky was cloudless. And thunder doesn't growl like that. Mechanical, multiple engines in synchronized rhythm. Tyler heard it first, head swiveling toward the parking lot entrance. Jordan stumbled backward, nearly tripping over his own feet. Blake stood frozen, hands still extended toward Riley, like he'd forgotten what he meant to do with them. The motorcycles appeared in formation, not racing, not hurried, just inevitable. 12 bikes in 2 staggered columns, riding with military precision. Chrome caught sunlight. Leather vests bore patches, Veterans MC, Marine Corps emblems, American flags. The lead bike was a black Harley-Davidson, rider wearing a cut with President Rocker across the shoulders. They didn't screech to a stop. They flowed into position like water filling available space, engines throttling down in unison. Every exit from the north parking section was suddenly blocked, not trapped, just controlled. Headlights formed a perimeter that made Blake, Tyler, and Jordan the center of a spotlight they never auditioned for. Diego Castellano dismounted first. 40-something, scarred hands, eyes that have seen too much and forgotten nothing. 5 more riders followed, men and 2 women, all wearing the same patches, all moving with the same controlled economy of motion. Not aggressive, just present in a way that changes every calculation. Blake's hand was still extended, still gripping Riley's arm. Diego's gaze dropped to that point of contact, then rose to Blake's face. When he spoke, his voice carried without volume, projection learned from giving orders under fire. "Blake Hartley, we've been waiting for you to make this exact mistake." Blake, still gripping Riley's arm, tried to process Diego's words. "What are you talking about?" "We were just..." Conspiracy to kidnap. Diego pulled out a tablet, screen glowing in the afternoon sun. Federal investigation opened yesterday into District Superintendent Hartley's office. 3 complaints buried in the last 2 years. Girls who reported assault, harassment, threats. Girls whose families were paid off or intimidated into silence. You're not creative, Blake. You're predictable. Tyler released his hold on the taser, hands rising slowly. We didn't know about any investigation. You knew enough. Diego swiped through surveillance footage on the tablet. Multiple dates, multiple locations, hallway confrontations, parking lot incidents, the chemistry lab on Monday. We've been monitoring you as part of witness protection protocols, waiting for you to commit an act substantial enough that your father couldn't make it disappear. Riley stepped back from Blake's grip. He didn't resist this time. Confidence evaporated like gasoline fumes. She turned to face Diego fully, and something passed between them. Recognition, shared understanding. A plan executed exactly as designed. I'm not just a transfer student, Riley said quietly, voice carrying across the parking lot, reaching every member of the veterans' MC perimeter. I'm a confidential informant for the Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights. Last school, Westmont High, a senior assaulted a freshman girl in the equipment room. I witnessed it through the door gap, reported it immediately. Her family had money. His family had connections. They paid her to recant, paid witnesses to forget, paid administrators to lose paperwork. She pulled the paracord bracelet from her wrist, holding it up. My father died believing systems work if good people stand up. I watched that girl sit in court and say she lied about being assaulted because her parents couldn't afford to fight. So this time, I didn't act alone. I documented. I waited. I let you build your own prison. Blake's face cycled through emotions. Denial, anger, calculation, fear. You can't prove anything. That recording's inadmissible. State law requires 2-party consent on school property. Nice try. Jordan's voice cracked across the parking lot. He'd moved away from the Mercedes, putting distance between himself and Blake. But I've been recording too. Every conversation since Monday. Full consent on my end, which makes it legal under federal wiretap statutes. Tyler turned on Jordan like he'd been slapped. What? You think I wanted to be here? Jordan's hands shook, but his voice steadied. Blake threatened to leak messages between me and another guy from my coding class. Said he'd out me to the whole school, to my parents. I went to Assistant Principal Morrison. She told me to handle it quietly, so I went to the district attorney instead. They promised immunity if I gathered evidence on Blake's pattern of behavior. Blake lunged at Jordan. Pure rage, no strategy. He made it 3 steps before Riley moved. Her reaction was instinct wrapped in training. She didn't chase him. She intercepted. Sidestep positioned her in his path. Hip turn redirected his momentum. Her hand caught his wrist mid-swing, thumb pressing nerve clusters that made his fingers spasm open. The wrist lock was textbook, minimal force, maximum control. Blake tried to pull free. She applied pressure upward, forcing him to his knees to avoid joint damage. Stop moving! You're making it worse. Tyler surged forward, presumably to help. Diego's voice stopped him cold. That would be assaulting a federal witness. Add it to your list if you want. We have 12 cameras running. Tyler froze. His face showed the exact moment he understood the trap had already closed. No escape routes, no plausible deniability, just consequences finally arriving after 17 years of immunity. Riley released Blake's wrist. He cradled it against his chest, staring up at her. I could have ended this Monday, she said, voice level as pavement. 1 wrist lock, 1 call to Diego, but that's what happened at Westmont. I acted alone, and the system protected the predator. So this time I waited. I documented every threat, every escalation, every choice you made to hurt someone weaker. I needed you to choose kidnapping. I needed conspiracy. I needed crimes even your father can't bury. She glanced at Diego, then back to Blake. I had to protect Alex, yes. But more than that, I had to protect the next girl. The one who comes after me, who won't know self-defense, who won't have Marines watching her back. I endured your cruelty so the evidence would be ironclad. So when I ask the system to change, they can't look away. She paused. That's why I waited. That's why I'm still standing. Blake said nothing. There was nothing left to say. Diego nodded to two riders, a woman with medic patches and a man carrying official-looking documentation. Riley, you need medical evaluation for the arm grab. Standard protocol. Blake Hartley, Tyler Walsh, you're being detained pending law enforcement arrival. We called 911 6 minutes ago. Officers are en route. Tyler's legs gave out. He sat heavily on the asphalt, head in his hands. Jordan stood apart, arms wrapped around himself, looking simultaneously relieved and terrified. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. The consequences unfolded in layers, each one deliberate and documented. Immediate response came within hours. Blake and Tyler were arrested on scene, conspiracy to commit kidnapping, assault, witness intimidation. The charges were federal because Riley's status as a confidential informant triggered Department of Justice protocols. Jordan was taken into protective custody, his cooperation formalized with immunity agreements signed before sunset. Riley gave a 5-hour statement to investigators. Every word recorded, every piece of evidence catalogued. Personal consequences arrived within a week. District Superintendent Hartley was placed on administrative leave pending civil rights investigation. Tyler's full athletic scholarship to State University was revoked. The school's zero-tolerance policy on violent felonies, leaving no gray area. Blake's father attempted to negotiate plea deals, but federal prosecutors declined. 3 previous victims came forward when they heard about the arrests, emboldened by someone finally being held accountable. Academic consequences took a month to cascade fully. Title IX investigation expanded to review 3 years of disciplinary records. Patterns emerged, complaints dismissed, evidence lost, victims transferred while perpetrators remained. An independent review board was appointed. Riley's grades were fully restored, her activities reinstated. Assistant Principal Morrison issued a formal written apology that rang hollow but created legal records. Community consequences shook the district. School board meeting 4 weeks after the arrests drew 400 attendees. Parents demanded Superintendent Hartley's resignation. Students testified about climate of fear, about reporting systems that protected powerful families over vulnerable students. Local news covered every session. The veterans MC attended in full dress, silent observers in the back row, presence alone, sending a message about accountability. Institutional consequences built over 3 months. Superintendent Hartley resigned rather than face termination hearings. Federal civil rights audit found systemic failures, inadequate training, insufficient oversight, policies designed to minimize liability rather than protect students. Blake was charged as an adult, felony kidnapping, assault, conspiracy. He faced 3 to 5 years if convicted. Tyler accepted a plea to reduce charges. 18 months in juvenile detention, plus mandatory counseling. His parents hired the best lawyers money could buy, but even they couldn't erase video evidence. Legacy consequences extended beyond the school year. Riley established Witness Shield, a peer-led program connecting students with legal resources and trained advocates. The Veterans MC partnered with her, offering self-defense workshops that focused on de-escalation and documentation. By spring, 2 neighboring districts requested to implement the model. College recruiters took notice. Essays about systemic change and courage under pressure carried weight in admissions offices. 6 months after that Friday in the North parking section, Riley stood in the same spot. The asphalt held heat differently now, spring transitioning to early summer, afternoon sun less aggressive. 20 girls gathered around her, ranging from freshmen to seniors, all learning basic self-defense techniques. She demonstrated wrist-lock escapes on a volunteer. The movement was precise, controlled. "Pressure here," she indicated nerve clusters, "makes them release." "You're not trying to hurt them. You're creating space to escape." The girls practiced in pairs. Some giggled nervously, others focused with intensity that spoke to personal experience. Riley moved between them, adjusting grips, correcting stances, offering quiet encouragement. Diego watched from his motorcycle, parked in the same spot where he'd blocked Blake's escape route. His presence was protective, but not hovering, letting her teach, letting her lead, but ready if needed. Assistant Principal Morrison, now interim principal after a month of community pressure, observed from her office window. She held a coffee mug, expression unreadable. Guilt lived in her posture. Reform lived in the policy changes she was implementing, slowly but measurably. Across town, Blake sat in juvenile detention awaiting trial. His appeals had been denied twice. His father waited outside courtrooms with an empty briefcase, career destroyed, legacy redefined as cautionary tale. Tyler wrote letters from his facility, long rambling apologies that Riley received but hasn't opened. Forgiveness required time she hasn't allocated yet. Jordan attended a different school now, 2 districts away. Therapy 3 times a week, required community service teaching coding to elementary students. He helped a freshman being bullied his 2nd week there, spoke up immediately, escorted the kid to the counselor's office. Small redemption, but genuine. The self-defense session ended at 5:30 p.m. Girls dispersed gradually, some staying to ask questions about the Witness Shield program. Riley answered each one patiently, provided resource pamphlets, exchanged contact information, building networks, one connection at a time. She was the last person in the parking lot as sunset painted the sky orange and purple. The spot where Blake grabbed her arm was marked now by a blue emergency call box, one of 4 installed as part of the security overhaul. A Veterans MC bumper sticker decorated the new security booth where an actual guard sat during school hours, not just abandoned equipment. Riley sat on her Honda's hood, scrolling through her phone. Local news site loaded slowly. The headline caught her eye. 3 students at Jefferson High report systematic harassment. Superintendent's office under investigation, she read quickly. Different town, similar pattern, powerful families, buried complaints, students afraid to speak. The article quoted an anonymous tip that provided investigators with documentation spanning 2 years. Her thumb hovered over the share button. Then she opened her contacts, found Diego's number, typed a message. Jefferson High, 40 minutes west. Can you be there Monday morning? His response arrived within seconds. Already on it. How many bikes you thinking? She smiled, typed back, however many it takes. Justice isn't a moment. It's a process. It's showing up, documenting, refusing to let systems crush people who have every reason to stay silent. Her father taught her that courage isn't fearlessness. It's doing the scared thing anyway, with proof, with patience, with people who have your back. Riley pocketed her phone, started her Honda, and drove home. The engine turned over smoothly. Tyler's stolen key fob returned by evidence processing last month. The paracord bracelet sat in her glove box now, too worn for daily use, but its lesson remained. Some knots are designed not to break under pressure. Some people are trained the same way. Monday morning she'd make a call. Tuesday she'd start gathering evidence. By Friday, maybe another parking lot would have motorcycles forming perimeters. Another set of bullies would face consequences. Another victim would learn they're not alone. The work continues. The fight continues. And she's just getting started.